Hello family, this is your brother Vladimir Dees. Peace to you all, peace to your families, peace to your homes. Just to note, first and foremost, this is going to be about Charlottesville. I know you had a lot of information kind of thrown at you. This is just a few points of interest that I have, and if you would like to hear kind of a broader commentary of this topic, I produce a podcast at radio, the number 4, for all.com. So radio 4, the number, all.com. Radio 4 all.com. And the title of that podcast is Class War Battlefield Podcast. Class War Battlefield Podcast. I produce it periodically. I'll get on a more regular schedule towards the end of the year. I'm actually reformatting it at this time. So, I've been kind of watching how the quote left progressives are apologetic. I had to check the time, but how the left, the progressives, have been dealing with this these events in Charlottesville. And as always, I am mightily intrigued by how the Young Turks responds to this, because to me the Young Turks is a great example of the conservative nature of the progressive side, I guess, because you can't really call it a movement. They're not really moving or doing anything these days, and truthfully I don't know if they can look at a victory that they've actually gained. So the progressive side, and often what I hear from the Young Turks is a simmered down, although very diluted take on issues involving racism and white supremacy. They are very good at saying the obvious, but when it really gets down and dirty into really tearing apart racism and putting the blame on white people, not conservatives, white people, and saying this is an issue within our society that we need to fix. Electing Barack Obama ain't gonna do it. Electing black people aren't doing it. Having sex with black people ain't gonna do it. Making black and white quote unquote mixed babies ain't gonna do it. We need to deal with this, because if we don't deal with it, then if we're making babies with black people, it is likely that we're going to pass down self-hatred to those non-white babies, because we are still going to treat them, or at least people who somewhat look like them, in a negative fashion. And these kids who absorb so much from the environment will instill that in themselves and come to believe that whiteness is still the greatest. And maybe ultimately in the back of their minds, this is just the thinking process. They want them to believe that whiteness is still the greatest. So with that as a foundation, and by the way, in case somehow this gets to, what is it, Cenk Uygur is his name? I have been listening to the podcast, to the Young Turks, since 2007. And I have watched the evolution of the Young Turks as a podcast, videocast that was really, when I say they were on the middle, they were very conservative when it came to things like affirmative action. And the idea that Cenk Uygur has that somehow affirmative action is going to hurt black people, which is a right-wing concept. And I believe he himself says that he was once very somewhat conservative. So I've watched the Young Turks, and I've watched how his vision has changed ever since he became the godfather of a black child. And even he himself mentioned this on the show, that he had to start thinking differently because he was the godfather of a black child. Well, that's great that you gotta kind of think differently, and he'll bring up that godchild when he's talking about issues of race. But I have to think about race because guess what, Jink? I'm black. I didn't have to wake up and say, well, I got a godchild. I had to think about being black and being white at the same time from the moment that I was a young kid. And so this, I'm not talking about the Young Turks as a person who's only been listening for 6 months or 7 months or 2 years or 3 years. I've been listening for 11 years. So here's the thing. In describing or in talking about how the police responded to the events in Charlottesville, specifically on that first day, and how their presence out there was very light, to say the least. He described himself as torn because he could see where the police acted in restraint because there were people out there with guns and they were armed, and that they didn't want the situation to turn volatile quickly. And yet at the same time, he understood that there needed to be safety and security. Here's the thing. And he brought up Ferguson. He brought up comments that he had read on Ferguson and black protesters and what have you. And one commenter even said, maybe if the people out there had Skittles, then the police would have had no problem utilizing force. And he said, oh, well, I don't really know about that. I think that's somewhat unfair, or said something to that effect. Well, here's the thing. When Ferguson went down, and not just Ferguson, Baltimore, you name it, anywhere that black people have been protesting unarmed. Circle it. Unarmed. Circle it. They have brought out all kinds of suppressive weaponry which they can utilize to break up black people. They have used percussion grenades. They have used the sound cannons. They have used pepper spray. They have they have cut down they have scrambled radio signals so black people couldn't get on Twitter and Facebook and talk about it live. Excuse me, sorry about that. But they have done all this. And when this is police, this isn't National Guard, this isn't federal government, these are police officers doing this. They showed up in military hardware and military vehicles to corral and suppress black people. And yet, when they deal with white people, who have guns, not the potential of having a gun. I'm not even talking about pistols. I'm talking guns. I'm talking, some of these people looked like they were straight up from Iraq. They were dressed in fatigues. They were ready for combat. When they dealt with their own people, and let me be straight about this. These are their own people. And this is the difference. They don't see black people as their own people. They see these people as their own people. They took a hands-off approach. And that's the point. When they came against these white racists and white nationalists, they took a hands-off approach. Because being American is, as the right likes to point out, it's about being white. So this was just one segment of the population of the true citizenry talking and looking at the other segment of the true citizenry. And this is something that black people are going to have to start understanding. You're dealing not with a system, but with a group of people who are organized into systems, which observes themselves as being connected and moving and going the same way. Black people, we don't seem to get that. These police, I don't care if you call it unconscious, because frankly, I don't believe it's unconscious. You don't make that decision in an unconscious way. You have to make it consciously, or else your body isn't going to do it directly. Now, maybe you have a blind spot, but wouldn't then, okay, there's a group of people, wouldn't one of them look and say, excuse me, Captain, I don't want to really step on anyone's toes here, but these people have guns and there's innocent people out there. Shouldn't we be doing more? Shouldn't we be calling in more backup? This is a college town. You're telling me that in this college town, which I believe it's for the University of Virginia, not a small school. You're telling me, so this is a UV college town. They have football games. They have basketball games. A lot of rowdy white kids after those games, after major wins. You're telling me that they don't know how to police large riots? Large-scale drunken riots? You're telling me that they don't know what to do? You're telling me that after, was it West Virginia? 10 years ago? Had the shooting? You're telling me that they don't know, they haven't done live fire drills where some people or a group of people have guns on campus? How you round them up, how you take them out? You're telling me they don't know how to do that? Of course they know how to do that. But here's the thing. They didn't see these people as problematic. They didn't see these people as problematic. Now, it is possible that this truthfully was a blunder, that the captain made a stupid decision, or the sheriff or whoever's calling the shots in the police department. But I'm going to play a little, quote, devil's advocate here, because they wouldn't have made the same mistake if it was black people. So that tells me that it's probably not a mistake. It's probably not a mistake. This is going to get worse. I expect it to get worse. I was listening to one YouTuber, and he put it in very blunt terms. He said, look, Donald Trump has made it fashionable to be a bigot. Possibly. I expect it to get worse because the economy is going to get worse. And historically, when white people suffer, they tend to bring the boom down on black people. I expect it to get worse because you can't hide it anymore. This isn't Donald Trump. This is actually, and I hate to say this is Barack Obama. Barack Obama's ascendancy to the White House really messed a lot of white people up. Why? Why? Because black people felt good about that. And no matter what white folks did to us, we were happy, we were joyous. We didn't shrink away from them. We didn't necessarily talk a lot of trash to them, but we were really happy and joyous. And no matter what they could do, they couldn't break that. And for the first time, they really, really truthfully became scared of their own power. I was listening to another YouTuber who on the one hand said it's black people's fault and social justice people's fault for the problems on the right. And he projects to be a black guy. I don't know if it's true, because there's a lot of white guys who will pretend to be black on YouTube. But I think on one hand, I think he understands more than what he even realizes he understands. So he wants to put it on social justice warriors. It's not social justice warriors who have made this a reality. It is Barack Obama's ascendancy and what it allowed black people to feel. It's been since probably the 70s when black people en masse felt good about themselves. And I mean felt good about themselves. We talked openly about black power, black community. We talked openly about cherishing one another and building something great, and we believed we can do it. That was the key. We didn't only talk about it, we believed that we can do it. And for the first time in 30 plus years, 40 years almost, we had that. And like that old song used to say, there was no stopping us. We felt amazing. Sometimes I wonder if that's what the oligarchy wanted. Because they wanted us to feel amazing, so then we would channel ourselves into positions in the system in order to keep the system afloat. But what actually happened was many black people said, oh, now we can talk about racism. We can talk about all this stuff that's out here. We can deal with this. And they weren't ready for that. So they had to put a cork on it. So it was either going to be Hillary Clinton or it was going to be Trump. Charlottesville is an extension of this. It is a dramatic extension of this. And we're either going to call it like it is or we aren't. And I'm calling it like it is. This is a textbook example of the difference on how police treat black people and white people. Textbook example. They would have not used force if it was black people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is Vimir Dees. If you are interested in hearing a more extended and more thorough commentary on this, check out the radio number 4, all, ALL.com. Radio, the number 4, all.com. Radio, the number 4, all.com. The title of my podcast, Class War Battlefield. Class, CLASS, War, WAR, Battlefield. Not .com yet, but Class War Battlefield podcast. So, check it out. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, there's contact information on the site. So, thank you very much. All right, you guys have a great, blessed month. Enjoy the eclipse, and I'll see you. Peace.